Which, where?
Oh, just go back by myself and say hi to him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just saying.
Oh, yeah. Go fast. I'm saying hey real fast before we get started.
Hello there. Nice to see you.
Okay. This is going to get hard because all my people are that way. Okay. Eric came too. I'm like the nerd that stands up here and waves at everybody because I get so excited. Everyone, I'm going to have us start. So one, Max is doing a great example of what I'd like you to do. And so is Marla. We have food. So a couple of months ago, we got to start bringing food to community conversations again. So please do not feel like you have to stay seated as we discuss things. Grab water, grab food. You want more? There's more. Keep going after it, and then we don't have to take it back to the office, which is also awesome. Also, tonight we are trying something new, which is why I have this microphone on that I'm going to play with all night long. Dan, our Director of Communications here, and Patrick with our community engagement team, have a whole big setup. There was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. We are YouTubing this meeting tonight, so we have some people who are also online watching. So if they couldn't make it in person, they could join us online tonight. And so why we have some cameras up, we have a microphone here, and a microphone on this chair, which we think will capture what people say. And so they'll share with me if there are people online that want to comment or ask questions or participate as well. So I would like to formally thank all of you for coming tonight to our 2024 Iola Community Conversation. My name is Lissa Regier, and I have the honor of leading Thrive Allen County. I will not go into a lot about Thrive. I think you guys know we are a community-based organization, health, wellness, economic development, in our 17th year. And the basis of how we know what our community would like to see are these conversations. We rely heavily on feedback from our community in every one of our towns, telling us what it is you want to see in the future, what you want to see now, where are the barriers, how do we move forward, how do we work together. And so that's what tonight is about. I was asked earlier, how is this going to run? Like, what is your agenda? I'm like, there is no agenda. You are the agenda. You guys will chart the course for what we talk about tonight. So before we get started, I'm going to quickly have my team do a quick introduction, just name and title so people have an idea of who we are. I will say quickly, Thrive has a team of 35. I did not bring all of them tonight. 8 or 9 of them, Jess? We just did this, 9? 8 of them will roll off July 1 because Allen Regional Transit, which you have heard us talk about over the past couple of years, becomes its very own nonprofit and rolls off of Thrive as of July 1, and they are their own entity, which is so exciting because it means we've gotten them to a sustainable level for our community and for them as an organization. So then we'll be down to a little bit smaller staff again. But for the team members I have here tonight, Patrick, why don't you start a quick hello and introduction.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming on. Patrick Georgiak. I'm a community engagement coordinator.
Thank you.
Dan Carroll, the Director of Communications.
I'm Karen Taylor, I'm a grant writer.
I'm Rachel Moore, I'm a grant writer.
Okay, now I've got to find my team right here.
Rhonda Cole, Director of Care Coordination. Jessica Thompson, Deputy Director.
Marla.
I'm Marla Wilson, I'm the Office Manager.
Perfect. And Jared.
Jared Weaver, I'm the Economic Development Director.
Perfect. Marcia, good grief. Marcia, who puts these together for us. Sorry, Marcia, go ahead.
Marcia Davis, I'm the Director of Community Engagement.
Thank you, Marcia. And Marcia is also who runs these if I can't make them, and she does a fantastic job. And she is also the person with Patrick, her team is who truly works and engages with the community after we come up with your list, depending on what the list is in each of our communities, so you see them a lot. I also have a couple of board members here. Brian, I'll start with you. So Brian would be our board chair, and then Eric. Eric. Our newest board member is Eric. I don't think I'm missing any other team members or board. So what I'd like to do, there are a lot of you, so I want to do this quickly, but I don't want any of you not to be heard. So a couple of things. One is I'm going to go around and just ask each of you to say your name, and you can either say, one thing I love about Iola, or if you work for a particular entity that you really want to be able to represent tonight, or you know what, honestly, anything you want to share. Before we do that, the other thing though I want to say before we really get started is not everyone is comfortable standing up in front of people or sharing information out in front of a group of people. We totally get that. So if tonight what you want to do is sit and listen, but you also have things you want to share, but you're not really comfortable saying them out loud, we have pieces of paper on your table. You can use them to doodle. Some people really do well if they're able to draw on things as they listen. You can use them to take notes. You can use them to write down comments or questions you want the Thrive team to hear, but you don't necessarily feel comfortable saying in front of this group, and that is totally fine. Also, if after tonight you have things you do want to talk with us about, but maybe not here, you can call us, email us, or stop in the office. There's a reason I had the team introduce themselves. I want you to know it's not just me. We have a whole team of people across myriad different areas of work that are here to work with you. So I'm going to start right here.
I'm Alicia Anderson, and my favorite thing about Owen County is the trails and John.
That's actually the biggest way we recruited this family into this community, actually.
My name is Max, and I love
I know you love theater.
the bullets.
There you go.
I'm Briley Prather, and I like the trails as well.
Awesome, thank you. Dan. Caught you chewing, sorry.
I'm Dan Davis, and I'm pastor of First Presbyterian Church. I live in Iola because I wanted to live here. I had a choice to go to several places. And Iola ticked off a lot of boxes. Trails, fine arts center, the people that I got to know and meet initially. Most of those were associated with the Presbyterian Church, but not all of them. And one of the big ones was also because of Thrive and what it has accomplished in this city.
Thank you. I did not pay him to say that. Gina. Was that all you were going to say? All right, that's fine too. I want you to know I'm not forcing anyone to say anything, but if I was going to force someone to say something, it would be Gina. Kara.
Hi, I'm Kara. I'm the Vice President for Academic Affairs at the college, and so I am invested because I love what we're doing and hope that we're providing good academic opportunities out there at the college for the community.
Awesome, thank you, Kara. I'm going to sit it back here. Awesome. Love it.
I'm Kate Brower. I live on South Street with my other two sassy sisters, and we are here to help in the academic.
Thank you.
I'm Iola Howard, Carolina Lopez.
Thank you.
I'm Ellen Welsh. I'm back in Iowa, is 20 years away. And those are my two sisters.
I'm Alice Boland, moved back here to Allen County in 2018. Been working in the Ellsworth-Sandburg area, but now living in Iowa, so trying to do what I can to volunteer and get involved.
I love that. And I will say, when I see these sisters, I think of the Elsmore sisters. And so when they walked in tonight, I was like, that's right, you're Iola now. Jim.
Jim Gilman, lifelong Iowa resident, and I was like a lot of kids who grew up here and thought, what in the world would anyone want to live here? And not only have I spent my whole life here except for military and college, but I
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you, Jim.
I'm Bruce Symes, and I lived here 38 years. I think I get to live here another 20 or 30 years. Looking forward to the next.
Thank you, Bruce.
Terry Bauer. I was raised in Allen County, moved to Lake, been back, almost 40 years now.
Time flies, doesn't it? I think so. Oh, sorry, people online. Steve, I'm sending it to you.
Steve French, I'm mayor of Iowa, and I was gone for 18 years with my job at the state. They let me come back, and I spent another 15 years with them and retired out of Iowa, my hometown. I wanted to come back home because I realized the small community offered almost as much as the city, just on a smaller scale. And I really think we're slowly but surely seeing that Iowa can become a progressive community and be that destination place that it's been.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve.
I'm Kristen French. I was born in Topeka, but I am raised here too on the weekends, and I've always been in love with the small town. And I am the office manager at the mental health center here in town.
I'm Myra Gleason. I've only known about Iola for 2 years. When I decided to move here and put in a coffee shop, I am what you call a drug dealer, just as illegal drugs, coffee and food. I've been overwhelmed with the community of the people that live here, the people that visit, everybody's families that come from everywhere else, and being able to create experiences, but also see the willingness of others to help engage in those experiences and visualize those has been really, really cool that I've never had before or been supported in the ways that I was supported here. So Iola's been a breath of fresh air and something of a culture shock in the best way. So that's me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Myra.
My name is Yolanda Quintero. I represent Eastern Kansas VA.
Yay, did you hear that? People are excited you're here.
Yes. Stand up.
You know where to find her now.
Yes. We are really excited to come into this community. I mean, our clinic is being gutted out, remodeled. We're excited to come down here. We've been trying to increase our enrollments. So if you guys have ideas, we'd love to hear them out. I'm one of the clinic managers leading the Iola project for the clinic that we're soon to open August 12th down here in your community. And yeah, so I'm going to be around for a while.
Perfect. So glad that you're here with us tonight.
And by the way, I know your town that we're working on, and I love it. I love it.
We love to hear that. Vicky.
I'm Vicky Moss. I'm the director of the Iowa Register newspaper, and I'm here to take pictures and write down everything you say.
I'm Paul Burzack. I'm a retired military guy. I spent 30 years living around the world. I've lived in Iowa since 1987. And I like to watch Iowa. I'm very interested in everything that goes on around me. I see a lot of potential there in the future. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the next few years in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Georgia.
I'm Georgia Masterson, and the thing I'm asked about this community is its generosity towards humanity.
Perfect. Thank you, Joelle. We'll start your table this way.
I'm Joelle Shella. I represent Ward 4 for the city of Iola. My husband and I moved our children here from California 31 years ago. And we have a good chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Cam.
Confusion.
That's it.
Short and sweet. Nick.
My name is Nick Loman. I'm a drug dealer. And
He actually is, legally, but he is. He's licensed drug dealer.
I've lived here for 17 years.
Thank you, Nick.
I'm Nick Kinder. I attended Allen Community College and just fell in love with Iola. So after graduating with my bachelor's degree, I dragged my wife from Topeka back to Iola, served on the city council, and am currently running for county commissioner.
Thank you, Nick. We'll start right here.
Hi, my name is Terry Fonstock. I am a transplant from Springfield, Missouri, so it was a little bit of a culture shock to come to a small town. But I came here because I loved being at a small community college whenever I went to college, and Allen has given me that. We have myself and Anne Marie. We are the go out to the woods and clean it up. And this past year, we've had over 20 students go out to the woods and help with them. And we're just looking for more opportunities to give our students.
You brought the students back from the woods, right?
And I did bring the students back from the woods. Yes,
She didn't take them out there to leave them. Gary.
I'm Gary McIntyre. T.C. Brown and Don Bain wrote me into moving here in '61, and I've been here pretty much ever since. And Jim Gilpin stole my presentation.
Okay, perfect.
I'm Becky Niles.
Becky. Okay.
Josiah D. Albini. I'm in the first ward for City Council here. I also serve as the vice chair.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. For Allen Regional Transportation.
I knew where he was going.
Yeah.
George is also on that board.
Yes, George is on it with me. But in terms of living in Iola, if you include my stint on 1801 North Cottonwood, 9 years total of my life, so a fourth of my life I've lived in Iola. And the last 6 I've thankfully lived here and been employed at the college. And so really the big thing why I'm so involved is just community engagement and making sure that my students are also engaged with the community as much as possible. So.
Awesome, thank you, Josiah. Maria, you and Russell snuck in. You want to do a quick introduction? I don't know if Russell's trying to share. Oh, he does, yes, and he's been writing it a lot. And he rode here, that's awesome. So I'm so excited that Russell is here and that our young adults at the table up here are here as well, because we truly do want to find ways to invite younger voices to the conversation. We started to do that on a peer-to-peer level this year, where our interns go to each of the high schools to have these conversations, and Allen Community College as well. And those have been really, really good conversations, and I think it's a lot more important to have a peer than a 40-something-year-old talking with our young people, although super glad you guys are here tonight. So I'm gonna start this off. You guys kind of have hit on a lot of how we open this up, and I'm so appreciative because there have been times we've been in communities and it's hard to get them to talk about what they think is good because they're smaller communities and they're struggling with a lot in the moment. And what you guys did today with opening up very quickly about what you love about this community is we try and open with that, because we want you guys thinking about why, I mean, so many of you said, I chose to be here. We moved here for a reason. And so I love hearing that. I want to tell you guys the top 3 things from last year, just to kind of center us back in from where we started or where we ended last year as your top priorities, because we talked about a lot of things, but at the very end of the night, the priorities were trying to get a head start on tourism, as we know infrastructure will start going out at the state park. Housing was a big one. And then workforce support, attracting people to the community, which even in these conversations you can hear that we have in our own way attracted a number of people in the past probably 5 to 10 years, which is exciting, in child care. We allowed you guys to put 3 in 1 on the last one, just to make sure that everything you wanted to talk about was there. I want to start though and continue with, is there anything we missed as you guys were talking about what you loved? I heard trails, I heard community support, I heard beautiful downtown. I heard, what else did I hear? The college. I heard being here for children. The bolus. Thank you, Max. The bolus. So what else are we proud of in our, oh, that was fast. Okay, Becky, I'll go with you first.
I think we have a very clean looking community.
I like it.
If you go other places, they don't always, I mean, we do a good job of.
We have pride in our yeah.
Looking nice. And
like
I
that.
think sometimes we overlook that.
That's great. Thank you,
I had
Gary.
the occasion to be in Fort Scott this week, and we had a display we had for the SAR. And they were so excited, the lady who worked for the city, we're going to get a hospital in a year. It's going to be a 10-bed hospital. I really think that the networking now with the big one and stuff, I wish they'd understood it better. I think maybe I'm the only one that doesn't, but I don't.
Are you talking about the hospital?
The hospital, yeah.
And St. Luke's?
Well, it's more than St. Luke's now. It's Barnes Jewish.
Right. Well, they're combined.
I just am curious about that.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. But I will say a highlight is we do have a hospital, because what I think Gary highlighted just now was how Fort Scott has really been in tumult without having the same healthcare access that we have here. Other good things that you guys want to raise up, Jim?
Several years ago, we had a New Englander come and talk to us about renewing our square. And they'd written a book about something about free-range family living.
Yeah.
Where parents are able to not necessarily be helicopter parents, but they let their kids play, ride their bikes to the swimming pool, and feel comfortable doing that. And I think free-range family living is definitely an aspect that we celebrate. Specifically, when we have talked about the state park to people born and raised here, and talked about the trails, they said, "Oh, I used to go down there on my bicycle all the time."
Yep. We heard a lot of stories about that. And I will say too, we at Thrive have a front row seat to the kids who go to the square to play with the blue blocks, which I always love. Every day in the summer, there are kids out there playing. And so I agree. I love that we have a community that is trusted to have the free range kiddos out and about. Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up? Dan?
So I guess I'm going to be Danny Downer here.
Oh, are we moving to steps forward or things to work on?
Yeah.
Okay, because then we'll go back to.
Just to say, there is a lot that I like here, and there always has been, and there always will be as long as I live here. But I also think we've let some opportunities drop.
Okay.
I would like to see the community pursue.
Okay, so some missed opportunities. Okay. Before we go, Nick.
I like the momentum.
Momentum, I like that. Momentum, Rachel, if you caught that. And I do think we've caught a lot of momentum lately. Georgia.
I think we have a fantastic library.
Oh, we do have a great library. That is spot on. Thank you, Josiah.
I would also say leadership. I mean, looking in here, we have one current sitting county commissioner, former one that's also served on a bunch of other elected boards, and tons of folks who have been elected, but also folks who haven't been elected and still take on leadership roles and really push those and flourish in them to help out our community.
I agree.
And so we have a community who cares and gives back.
Spot on. I love that. Thank you. Anybody else?
We found that the Senior Plus meal program at the hospital is wonderful.
I love that. Rachel, did you catch that? The senior meal program at the hospital? I was so grateful and excited when the hospital opened up their kitchen again for the community. I know it's probably been about, Nick, has it been over a year? Oh, 2 years? 2 years? What I know is when it closed during COVID, I felt like a whole group of people kind of lost their connection to others. And I think that the hospital is a great place, if you don't know, to get an inexpensive meal that's good and also connect with other people. And then you have a walking trail that you can use afterwards, which was the whole reason we wanted to put that in there. And a musical playground. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, I thank you guys so much. I always want to start with what do you guys see as a good thing? Because I think it helps center us in the fact that as we move towards things that you guys think we could work on together, that ways that you think the community could be better, that we always remember every community has room for growth. Every community has ways that they want to move forward. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm so sorry. Try and get closer to the big group of people. And so as we move into the discussion about what could be different, what are the challenges we see, I always want us to remember we have a whole big list of things, and we didn't even drill very deep into that, of all of the great things going on. So now I want to shift us into what is probably going to be the brunt of the conversation tonight. I want you to think about what are areas where we could grow, what are areas that challenge us currently, What are issues that we need to be addressing as a community? It's always hard to be the first person who wants to talk about that one. Oh, Gary, actually, I'm going to start with you. You brought up, was it relationship with the hospital, or what was that?
Yes, in other words, like I got calls today, I don't know why, but I got calls today and said, what's happening is Barn Jewish? Are they going to have different doctors here? Is it going to stay the same? No, it's fine.
Yeah.
But people don't know that. They wouldn't be calling me.
Right.
I don't know why they think I should know. And I said, I don't. I said, I will bring it up tonight. So
Perfect. So I think, one, I have no place to represent the hospital in any way, shape, or form. Gina, do you want to address it?
So, St. Luke's merged with Barnes Jewish January 1st, 2024. So they basically have two regions. Barnes Jewish is St. Luke's based.
I've been to it many times.
So they have East and West regions. So basically, Allen County is part of the West region.
Perfect.
And then they have administrators that cover the facilities and that. So, I mean, I think there'll be some changes, but I don't know, like, to what level as far as leadership and who will cover what. You know, I think there's a lot of managers now that currently do dual roles.
Yes.
For Allen and Anderson facilities.
And I think you guys will get further information when they install a new administrator as well. There will be more conversation that'll happen at the county commission meeting, Bruce, because I know they always come and talk about things there. I think Gina is the best person in this room to answer that question.
I know a lot about nothing because you know, it's however I get information from, you know, my manager.
Yes, nope, that's perfect.
Leadership shares.
Yes, thank you for that. I missed my cue over here that people online were sharing things too. Sorry, guys.
No, you're fine. Dan Hayes asked if you would please repeat information on questions. We're having trouble picking up some.
Maybe can I just carry this mic around?
You can hand that to people.
Okay. Roving mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Or if one of the team members wants to be a runner. Hey, Patrick. Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was kind of on what Gary mentioned with the hospital, which I understand there are questions there. Who else has things that they would like to bring up community-wise? Yes.
I'll keep plugging this until somebody.
Yeah. So, guys, we're just going to hand this to you. Just kind of hold it. I don't know. I wear mine right here.
I've mentioned this a few times, and I don't know if it's something that Thrive can help with.
Okay.
But I've been to towns where they have pads that food trucks can be on, and they have like a little food truck area that you can that has some picnic tables and stuff, but they try to have food trucks somewhat regularly.
Yes.
Because I never know when a food truck is going to be
Correct.
here until I get a text message and it's already gone. So, but something to bring in something like that,
Like
that
a food
we,
truck village.
Yeah,
like
a
little
designated food truck area.
village that on one day a week we know that something's going to be there. So
Perfect. I love that. Thank you.
and then one
Yeah,
other
please.
one, on the I call it the Allen Circle.
Okay.
Me and some students go out and clean it, the trail.
Oh, yeah, the trail around the college. Okay.
There are a number of community members who use it, and they also bring out their dogs. There is a lot of dog
Excrement?
Yes, and it would be great to have something out there, and we can coordinate with the people that, myself, who clean it regularly. And I mean, it'd just be a nice addition out there because there are plenty of people with their dogs that go out there.
So I want to just clarify. When you're saying put something out there, you're talking like a station where there would be bags and things like that, like for pet owners to clean up
Yeah.
after their dogs.
2 or 3 of those would be fantastic.
Okay, perfect. Rachel, did you catch that? Thank you. Okay. Who else has? I know people have ideas in this room. Oh, Alicia's got one.
I'm still looking from that.
Oh,
As someone who jogs and walks, I wish we had consistent sidewalks.
yes.
I find myself, what I said was, I wish we had consistent sidewalks. I know myself, I mean, as an adult, having to go off the sidewalks and jog on the streets, I worry about like little kids or teens or elderly people, just, it's not really safe when the sidewalks just stop.
I agree.
Or they're horrible.
And she said she's stealing it from Max, because when we were talking earlier, Max is like, yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is the sidewalks. And I said, I love that it is one of our younger people that is bringing up sidewalks. Bruce, yes. Consistent sidewalks, yes.
Specifically the G&W area, where kiddos are coming from the elementary school, and there's kind of an area that just
Is lacking
forced
it.
to get into the
Yep.
street with traffic.
Well, and I think I would maybe look at, I'm going to aim this at Steve. Sorry, Steve, and you might not have, or any of the city council members, when, I know it's future, the 54 build out occurs, aren't we talking about some, like the sidewalks there being redone and?
The plans for 54. The design plan for 54 would include new sidewalks on 54.
Okay.
And it would restructure the, what we call the old hospital curve as well, to try to make it safer for accessing from the side.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. I will also let you guys know that we have been in conversation. I make no promises about any grant that we ever go after, especially not the one that I'm about to reference, with the city about how can we find funds to create more sidewalks, because it is something that is brought up quite a bit. And I will say too, as I talk with other rural communities, one of the things we joke about a lot is everyone in our urban centers seems to think that it's so easy to get around a rural community, and that what they don't understand is we don't have the sidewalk infrastructure, and you're in the road with big implements at times and other things. And so I really appreciate the thought from the table over here. Max, I know you had that one too. Josiah.
I'm not going to put an age cap on this one, and I think Max would be a good example, but a leadership development program for youthful citizens. So we have a bunch of more mature citizens that are very involved, but even within the workforce, our 20s to 30s to 40s aren't as involved community-wise, and so whether it's building it up at the high school and then expanding, I know KLC, the Kansas Leadership Center, has partnered with a lot of communities to get those going.
And you brought that one up last year too.
Yes.
Yep. I appreciate that, and that's something too, Josiah, on Thrive's end, perhaps with new interns next year, that we could partner with you on to try and move forward.
Also, in a lot of places, it falls under the chamber at the same time, and we hopefully will have a new chamber as Robin's retired.
Yep, a director. Yep.
New director soon, so that might be a good partnership.
Yeah, that would be great. Awesome. Myra. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Patrick's going to get his exercise tonight.
Get your steps in. Yeah. So I am enjoying what I'm hearing coming from more food options, food trucks, more things for the community to be involved with, more like a leadership thing. So that all kind of goes into what I've been thinking about. As a business owner, our time is very non-negotiable in the ways in which we can visualize, expand ourselves, things like that, because I'm a person, I love taking risks, I love being in business. I tell people I'm passionate about business, your product changes. But if you're really good at business, it doesn't matter what the product is, you'll be able to sell it and hopefully sell it well. So with the food trucks, one of the things, and I know that the City Council is working on the transient vendor licenses being more accessible so that we don't have this fight of, will the $250 cover us for one event when we're taking the risk all on ourselves, right? And that's business, and I understand that as a business owner, you gotta take risks in order to earn. So that's one thing that I know the city's working on, but our food culture here, we don't have a food culture. And it's been one of my main goals, and what we're trying to do is bring more of a culinary experience. There's also been a lot of needs for classes and food classes. And if my husband Gabe could, and we could give all the lessons, do all the food, do all the dinner parties, we absolutely would. I would love to just jump on over here with what Josiah, and also, I forgot your name, Terry was saying, that we need, in order for us to have growth, we need a city that is going to stand behind not only their business owners, but their community. And I've kind of felt this pull between that that I haven't always felt supported by the city, that they're going to be like, yeah, let's work this out. Let's see what we can do. It's been more of a, it's been more of like the gossip culture, I think, is really, really foul here. And that reaches other people's ears. And then there's assumptions that go around. And then things kind of happen behind doors that you don't know about your business, where assumptions were made and you were never able to explain yourself because you didn't know that you had to explain yourself. And so these are things, and then I feel like maybe the city, and I'm being very blunt and very honest, so people here, do not hold this against me. But I feel like the city then kind of they make it a little more difficult for you to be able to have visions that need their approval, do things that might need requirements or other things and flexibility. So that's been something that I feel could be a really great area of growth if the city would be a little bit more open-minded to really come behind us as a community to help open doors, whether it's just needing a spot on the square or things like that, and however that works, whatever people's needs are. I felt that that's been the one area of growth that has been a problem for a lot of people, and not just for businesses. And I haven't had too many problems, but there's been things that have come up that I've scratched my head at. As far as the food culture, I know that there's so many people that are really wanting to bring food trucks. There's business people that have these ideas that they want to execute them, but they're not allowed to because there are obstacles in their way, sometimes one being the city, sometimes others just being hurt in the process of sharing their ideas and feeling like they've been let down. And so the risk to them then becomes out of fear because it's an emotional response and not one based on that their idea is really good, their food is really good. And so I think sometimes we allow ourselves maybe in areas of poo-pooing ideas before we're able to bring them to life or even stand behind somebody to visualize them. With the leadership thing, what Josiah was explaining about more of the in-betweeners and having more mentorship and things like that as business leaders, I love business, and I think there's so many people in this community that have amazing ideas. One of the things that hurts our community is that the consistency, and where a lot of us are hurt by businesses because we go there to support them and then they're not open, or we try and do the best that we can to help them get the word out, show up, and then that fear, that risk comes in. I'm not good enough, they didn't like this, things like that. If we had more of a culture of and I could be a part of this, I can't do it all, I wish I could, because I really, really would. I would love to see a program, and I would love to entertain any conversations and sit down and about how do we teach business, teach how to be a business owner, what that looks like, so people can make the right decisions with the giftings and the ideas and the thoughts that they have, so that we as a community don't have to sit there and say, oh, we tried to support you, but you were never open, or these were all the things that happened in the way of getting to where you could have been successful. And so food culture, teaching, I think more classes, and programs, and I'm willing to do that. I'm just sharing what we need and things like that. But these are things that I would love to see, is more of a food culture and all of that. I'm sorry it took so much time, but I just had a lot of thoughts on that.
That's great, Myra. And I'm gonna highlight the top level, I think. Negative coffee shop talk, which is any rural community typically has that, but I know we do too, so it's watching that. It is collaboration and conversation, I think, between businesses and the city, kind of a work together mentality is what I'm hearing. Food culture, I'm all about more food, guys, so more of that. And then the last thing I'm hearing is, how do we prepare our community members who are who have this great idea for a business, no matter what that business is, and how can we get them to a place where they've got a business plan that is sustainable, and an understanding of the consistency of what that will take. Because I will say, in Humboldt, when we had our conversation there, one of the big things that was discussed for a while was consistency and our businesses in Humboldt not being open on a consistent basis. or not as long as people would like to have them open, because it's harder if you work in Chanute or Iola to come into the community and visit those businesses. So the consistency is another thing. I will say what a couple of those business owners said who were at that meeting was, it's really hard for us to be open longer, and because of the sustainability of that at times too. And so I know there's a push-pull on all of that, but I do agree consistency is also really, really important, and business plans as well. Oh, I'm gonna go Jim first, and then I'm gonna come back over here.
One of the things that happened after World War II was the returning GIs delved into the governance issues that the community had that were decades old, and they redid all the ordinances and reviewed all of them in the city. I think they may have even gone to the League of Municipalities and requested model policies and procedures so that they could be appropriate for the kind of concerns that we're hearing here tonight. If we are going to become a destination community and county, maybe we need to go to the places that are now destinations, and what kind of ordinances and practices do they have in place. Iola is blessed to own its own utilities, and it has the capacity potentially to try to increase the number of meters and things that it's got, as well as maintain them rather than be in a decline like it has been for decades. So there's some opportunity under governance to maybe update everything to try to be consistent with a growth environment.
I heard that yesterday too. A gentleman mentioned to me, I think now might be the time, because it is often we don't look at ordinances or policies until there's a problem, and then it comes up. And so I like what you said, Jim. And we're not here to like ask the city well, actually we can ask the city, I guess anything, but maybe that's another conversation, would now be a good time to start going through a lot of those, because that is time consuming. I know even at Thrive, when we've done our policies, I feel a little angry because it just takes a lot of time. But that was brought up to me yesterday as well. So thank you, Jim. Terry?
Just a quick question. I mean, I'm gonna talk into this, but how many of you have iPhones?
Thank you, Patrick.
Or Apple products? So maybe half of this room. Mm-hmm. If you didn't know this, but I didn't know this, I was trying to find Fillmore's coffee, and somebody was describing where it was, and I thought it was this mythical place. And I didn't realize that the reason why I couldn't find it is because you have to pay extra or something like that to be able to be on the Apple Maps or something. I talked to...
But they're not under Fillmore. They're under Wild Bloom now.
Oh, okay.
That's why you can't find them.
Well, this was about a year and a half ago, or a year
That's
ago.
probably when they switched over.
Yeah, so a year and a half ago, we hadn't been in business long enough to be paying
Is anything come on?
So Apple only puts reputable businesses that have been, Google, that have gone on Google, and that means Apple, because you can see all their businesses, and Apple sees that, then they're like, oh, that's a good business, and your reviews go up and things like that. So
I don't want to see you guys either. You guys good right now? Okay.
Well, and maybe with that in mind, thank you for that update, but maybe with that in mind, and just in general, I've lived here for 4 years, and I learned this past semester that we have a Dollar Tree.
Yep.
Don't make fun of me. I am just not connected. And like this past week, I was trying to find a farmer's market that was open on the weekends, and I couldn't find anything for...
Yep, Humboldt and Saturday.
I couldn't find anything for Humboldt, and I couldn't find anything for Chanute or Garnett. And so just like...
How do we have a better community calendar or space for information for people to find things in the community?
And also, another thing on community calendar stuff.
The
community conversation with the college.
Yes, that is correct, Josiah.
I don't get the paper. I understand that. I'm a millennial, and I'm not on social media a lot, but I never know when things are. Stop making
Do you,
fun of
okay,
me.
do you use websites? Like, would you go to the chamber site and maybe look at the
Yes.
chamber?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I
So
try
we
to go to
need
the chamber.
yeah.
I
okay.
try to go to Thrive.
Okay.
But like community cleanup, I don't know when that is.
Because that goes on, I'm going to look at my communications guy, because that goes online on social media. So we need another space for it as well.
But,
okay.
I mean, just thinking of those, I've mentioned to city council to maybe put it in a flyer or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that would be really nice.
Perfect. Thank you, Terry. I'll give this back to Patrick. Who else has things that they would like? Oh, sorry, Alicia. I knew you did. Yep. Oh, sorry, Patrick. I was already coming this way. And one online. Thank you.
So, and maybe it's outlandish, but putting like a water station in between Iola and Base Camp and Iola and Carlisle, so that we can encourage people to still be healthy, get refills of their water, or if they bring their pets.
I like that. So for anyone who didn't hear what Alicia said, she mentioned if there were ways to put, she used the word outlandish, I think, maybe it's outlandish, but I don't think it is. To put water stations in between Humboldt and Iola on the south wind, and between Iola and Carlisle on the Prairie Spirit. One of those is a state property, but to encourage people to be healthier while they're out, or if they have their pets with them, to have a place to hydrate their pets as well. I think that's a great idea.
So more with tourism and not our state park that's coming.
Yes.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize that there's a $2 billion theme park going in close to Tulsa.
In Oklahoma, yeah.
So within a 2-hour drive of us, it's not going through anymore. Oh, but originally there was talk of that. So if it is happening,
How do we also
on the path there, and we're also on the path for snowbirds to head towards the south. And so I know the mayor and I talked about it a long time ago, is marketing the fact that we have a dog park and we're right there on 54 and 169. And so getting people to come into town, maybe they do go to the dog park, but then they go to the square and other shops.
I love that. I love the idea of what is it that could bring people who are traveling through, who need to take a break. I know, honestly, one of the things that's come up with the city a lot is EV charging stations, because then we bring them into the community and keep them here for a little bit and they walk around and do stuff. But what are the amenities we currently have, like the dog park, that people traveling need to utilize instead of just being at a gas station? Nick, thank you. Thank you, Josiah.
So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is expanding telecommunications and making sure that rural communities have access to not only fast, affordable, but also reliable and safe access to the internet and access to cell phones. And one of the things that I think we could do is a community engagement focused on cybersecurity and protecting some of our vulnerable populations from increasing scams, and unfortunately the rise of artificial intelligence and how that's going to play a role in essentially bad actors taking roles and trying to,
I think that's super smart and a really great thing to point out. Nick and I were on a webinar together today, and I don't remember if someone said it or if it was in a chat, but that came up, and I thought about, we had a conversation, Jess and I did earlier today too, even at Thrive, about policies, about if someone got a phone call from me, for instance, from me, that says I need $10,000 wired. I'm like, first of all, when will I ask for that? But this idea that they're now copying voices now too. And I know that so many of our older population has been the first that are targeted with scams always, because they want to help, and they are sometimes socially isolated as well. And when that came up in the conversation we were having earlier today, Nick, I'm so glad you brought it up as part of the community conversation tonight, because I thought, oh my gosh, our community is totally at risk for that. So I do think that that is something we should be looking at, is how do we educate our community, especially our older populations, but all of us, because I didn't realize when Jess was like, yeah, they'll do your voice now too, and I was like, oh, who needs that? Like, but it's another way to trick people into doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. So thank you, Nick. I think that's a good one to put up there.
The insurance industry has mandatory studies about that. You have to take these courses, or you can't keep doing what you do.
Yeah.
So you watch for stuff.
Good, good. And I think it'd just be a good idea to try and find ways to educate the community on that.
We got a few.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Dan.
No, sorry. First, Dan Case wants you to know that you look fabulous.
Thanks, Dan.
Also, hotel.
Yep. Hotel. Hotel.
And we've also got wayfinding signs.
Yep.
And improved billboards.
Improve.
Like the quality of the billboard.
Okay, perfect. Did everybody hear what Dan was saying? Hotel, a new hotel. Yes. Wayfinding signs and improved billboards in the community. So that's some of the online conversation that's being had. Anything else over here? Because I keep walking this way. Anything else you guys can, Nick, go ahead.
One more.
No, you're good.
I was thinking more diversity in our options for gas. I know that a lot of communities have a lot cheaper gas than we do.
Yeah, we're usually at the top end of that. Yeah, thank you, Nick. Rachel, did you catch that? Yeah, that's right. I like that they know to wait for you now, Patrick.
You've lost 12 pounds in the last 5 minutes.
I need it.
You're doing great. So just a couple things. I'm going to backtrack just a second here. When it comes to the communication, Humboldt has their, what do you want to call it? Like sign down on their square, marquee or whatever it's called, that constantly rolls through. Until I transferred here to the Iola office, I was driving past that every day. I think our square is big enough to add something like that, because there are people who don't do Facebook and who don't get the newspaper and whatever, and I think that's a great way to promote things. You have racers who come through that are maybe here for the weekend or whatever. So just a thought. Also down on the square, while this might seem a little silly, I'd love to see bathrooms down there.
Okay, that's not silly at all. That is a big conversation that's been had for years.
I love to go to Thursday night music. Mm-hmm. I love what you guys are doing with what the coffee shop is doing with the movie night. I love all the community engagement that is happening down on the square, such as our ACMAT safety night that we just had. Yet I have a little one who likes to go to the bathroom a lot. She also wanted to change into her swimsuit during safety night, and thankfully there was a store for me to go into that I know the people. But last Thursday at music, I had to walk across the square twice to go to El Charro's. Now, they're accommodating, they are nice, I appreciate that, but I also feel really awkward about it.
Right. No, I think that that's great. We have looked into that. We looked in that years ago at Thrive, and I'm so glad you brought it back up, because at the time it wasn't something that we had the capacity to work with the county on, I don't think, or the city, because I think one of the places we looked was city-owned. But I agree, my 3-year-old nephew, I found a tree on Thursday, but he's 3, so that's a little bit more doable. And a lot of people have that issue down there, and the only time that we've got the porta potties there is if it's a bigger event.
Yeah.
And I agree that's.
In the interim, you can always use the sheriff's office.
Are they open during the evening? Could we walk in there?
Yeah.
Well, look at that. All right. Thank you, Bruce. Maybe that's where Dad took my nephew. I don't know. Yeah.
And there's a lot of care in our community, which is a great thing about preserving the integrity of our courthouse square.
Yes.
So I think that sounds to be pretty.
I love it. Thank you, Bruce.
I just have one more thing. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is what we're here for.
The last thing I would really like to see, somebody brought up the library earlier, and while I do agree that we have an absolutely fantastic library for a smaller community, there are things that the library does for like stay-at-home parents with their kids. I am a working mother. I work 40, sometimes 40 plus hours a week. I can't go do those things, but I would love to do those things with my daughter. Yes, we do go to the music and we go to the movies and stuff like that, but they do certain things that I would just love to be able to do, which then kind of leads me into my next thing. We are bigger, and nobody knows, I actually just Googled it, we are bigger than Burlington, and we are bigger than Osawatomie. Now, Burlington does have the nuclear power plant, so I will kind of like let that one slide, but Osawatomie does not have a nuclear power plant, and they have rec centers.
Yes.
I drive all winter long to Burlington Rec Center because it is fabulous. They've got the gym, they've got workout areas, they've got the indoor pool, they've got an outdoor pool, and we love it. We're a bigger community. I think we should be able to have a...
Oh, that's the universe saying yes. That's what
Exactly.
it was.
You have been heard.
So I
Thank
want
you.
you to know that my team is highly aware that the top item on my list is an indoor pool. And the way that we are looking at that right now, and there are no promise, I can never promise you guys anything ever. I can always just promise that we will work on things. Jared's been working on this ever since he came on, the idea of a rec center and how we might be able to make that happen. So we are trying to work through that. Again, I put it out there in the hopes that it's going to manifest itself as we work really hard on it. You are not at all the first person to mention that. In fact, if we go all the way back to before Thrive became Thrive, looking at Brian here, we did surveys of the community. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of surveys, and I went back through them in 2019. Top item listed in 2000, I want to say this was 2006 was an indoor pool rec center. So this has been on the community's mind for ages, and it's, can we as a community find the funding and the backing to make that happen? We're working to find a partner that would actually run it if we can get it up and going. So we've been working on these relationships, but this is a long game, and so that's a big part of the long game. But everyone that's online heard me whispering, and I know Jared and I were saying the same thing. Say it. Say indoor pool, say rec center, say it.
Yeah.
So we are excited about that idea.
Advantages to it for, the elderly, the young. I am always absolutely floored every time I go to Burlington and the amount of young boys there playing a pickup game of basketball. Even down on at our gym on the open walking nights, the amount of people who are down there playing basketball. Our kids need something to do, and what better way to give it to them than a pool and a basketball court and somewhere to lift some weights, because the Burlington Rec Center too also has pool tables, air hockey. They're a little rough looking, but that's okay. Kids don't care.
No, I thank you. You're definitely speaking our language on that. Gary, you had something.
I was a city commissioner in the 70s, and we had a special meeting. I don't look that old, but they had a special meeting down there, and all it was about is the pool, wanted to cover the pool. We wanted the college to do it, whatever. And I'll never forget some of the questions. They said, well, how many of you, hold up your hands, we give $25 a month for a pool? Not one held their hand up. So I don't know, we could ask the same question here. But you have to be careful, it has to be paid.
Right, it would, Yep, a membership fee would be needed at a rec center most of the time. Yep. That's in the 70s was a lot more than it is now. That's very true. That's very true. Dan?
Dan has another question.
Yep. Oh, sorry. There's this Dan, and the online Dan.
Elizabeth says, related to wayfinding and planning ahead for an increase in visitors, considering coming up with branding for the community. So the new flag signage is all cohesive.
I like it. Thank you. Cohesive branding. I think that was brought up last year as well. Myra's got.
Speaking of cohesive branding, who owns that I Square LA billboard? It's supposed to be Iola, I know, but it's I Square LA.
So that would have come through CITF maybe, or the city. Am I right? CITF. CITF. That's where that one came from.
Okay. When's their contract up on that?
I'm looking at Steve. These are Steve questions or city council questions.
I want to clarify as well in my other what areas of growth. When I had said the city, it wasn't about our commissioners or our city council. I just wanted to clarify it was specifically about other entities that
No.
I don't hate anybody, there's just been difficulties within more of the administration.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Myra. And I will say, I also want to say thank you because I think it is hard sometimes to sit in these rooms and have people talk about the city or any other entity, right? Or Thrive or anybody else. And really, that's our closing night song that's playing for us right there. So I appreciate, one, what you said, but two, that we all sit here knowing that people will bring up things that we all need to work on at some point if we're going to address some of these as our items. And so just thank you all, one, for being respectful, because I didn't lay out any rules before this, and I thought about this as we started our conversations, how grateful I am to be in a community where I don't have to lay out rules like that because we all just know how to be respectful of each other. So thank you for being that kind of community. I do realize we are at an hour, just over. And I'm trying to be very respectful of you guys' time. And so what I want to do is, I don't feel tonight, unlike other nights, that we have had huge conversation around one particular topic. I also know there might be questions to Thrive in general. So let's do two things. Are there any questions specific to Thrive before we get started on, because Jim, I think you had some, on kind of bringing down where we want you guys, I say you, our community and Iola's focus over the next year, where Thrive works alongside community members to try and make progress in certain areas. Are there questions specific to Thrive first? Because Jim, I thought you started with, I have questions that'll come up later. Do you want to do that?
As a destination, it's important that when people come to your location, that they're treated well and they are welcomed. I quizzed our director here about her former life working in Florida for the Disney organization, and they literally have a week-long training or 2-week-long training. It's an amazing training that you got to go through if you're going to work there, just to be able to treat everyone like a guest and have all the answers to their questions. And I'm just thinking, does the community, if we're serious about leveraging what we have with all these visitors, hundreds of thousands of visitors are going to be coming if it's anything like the other state parks. And ours is the only one that's in the city limits of a community. So we have a great opportunity, and the hospitality training is my big question. Don't assume anybody's going to be nice and friendly. Make sure they're prepared.
I think, so I appreciate that, Jim, thank you. And yes, I worked for the Mouse for a couple of summers, and they did have at least a week-long training that we did on synergy and hospitality and all kinds of things. I'm sure it was doctrination, but it was wonderful. And I will say, one of the things that I always kind of incorporate, the team sees it sometimes, is what we call the Disney sweep, is what they called it, where you just pick up the trash as you walk along, but you do it like so slyly, so no one's even paying attention. There's not even a break in your step. And that is not the Disney sweep. I've seen it done by multiple people in this community because we care. And they'll walk on the square and there's a piece of trash and they just pick it up and throw it in the next trash can as it's flying around. But I do think, Jim, that's a good thing to bring up, is that as people come into the community, and I think most of them experience this, because Myra kind of brought this up too, that they are treated welcoming, with a welcoming spirit. And if they ask questions about what to do and where we should go, it's not, I don't have time for you. It's, what do you want to do? We have so much you can do. And so kind of just, how do we talk with people who aren't from here, and how do we invite them into our community and share with them all that we have to offer, and hope that they pick up on that and want to do more and want to keep coming back. So I appreciate that as something to bring up as well. All right. Yes, Dan.
Well, thank you. I always wanted one. One of the things that I got involved with here when I first moved was Rotary. One of the things Rotary did is they had this little simple thing that they did with recycling, and started out with newspapers, and it organically grew. And by the time I was here 2 years, it had exploded. And the number of people that supported it and brought things to be recycled, and what it did for the community, I think was I still don't think people really understand what an amazing process it was and the good that it did to the community. I've had the fortune to live in 3 small towns that did recycling, so I know it can be done. And I would just, I would like to keep that in front of people.
Perfect.
Because we did not advertise recycling, and people flocked to it. People overwhelmed it. People overwhelmed the volunteers that were trying to do it. And my hope was that the city, the county would say, wow, this is really something people are going to support, and in the long run, this is going to be something that's going to be helpful for our cities and our county. Haven't seen that part yet, but I've done it long enough, and I've said to the city council members and I've said to the county commissioners, talk with me about it. I've got some experience in it. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm going to tell you what I've seen and how it's worked. And that's one thing that I wish that we would not let go away.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. And I will say too, we've had I'm sorry, I realized that I cannot keep putting this on my shirt. A lot of people who are very passionate about recycling in this community and how do we bring it forward. And that was one of the first things when I started at Thrive. My first question to David at the time was, do we have recycling? How do we get this here? Because for a lot of us, the other places we've lived, that's the norm. So I would love to see that here as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, Bruce.
There's some great points about the need for us to be prepared for the destination city and the state park and the visitors that will be coming, and the great ideas about hospitality training, or just whether it's the uniform branding. I think the mindset that we need to be prepared for all of these tourists is something that we need to think about beforehand too. And the remarks about the negativism within the community are very well received. And I know that the coffee, the nattering nabobs of negativism and the cave people, they do actually impact a business. They impact us personally. They impact the way we feel about our community and the way we feel about each other. And it's really like dealing with bullying to an extent. When I came here in '86, I was a reporter at the Register, and I heard about the cliques in Iola. Well, my job was just to go out and talk with everybody. So it was disarming, I think, to whoever might have thought I was less than, because I was there for a purpose, to hear about them and do the story. And so I've just found through my 38 years here now, if you jump right in the middle of a negative conversation, and there's times when you're just going to have to knock the sand off your sandals and move on if they're just so hell-bent on saying nothing positive about the community. But we can change the shape of some of those communities, and not only is that going to be important to our visitors that come here, that we have that right face at the front, but it's really important for the overall health of our community, long time, because it does affect, a city has a morale just like a football team. So don't let that get you down, and just stay positive.
I love that. Thank you, Bruce. And it hit me as you were talking, when I say the negative coffee shop talk, that I said it to a woman who owns a coffee shop, and I was not at all talking about your coffee shop. It's how we talk about, usually it's the place people gather and where they want to talk about things, and so that's why I just refer to it as that. I'm sorry, Myra, that was not a dig at all. It's just the way I've always kind of said it, and our rural communities are like, yeah, that's the place we gather. So, but it could be it could be anywhere. It could be the cafe, it could be wherever. And I do agree, I think one of the biggest things, and I'm gonna look at every person in this room because you all showed up tonight because you care about this community. And one of the things that I like to highlight is we all have a place to be able to walk into a conversation where someone is hating on the work being done in this community, hating on any number of things, where I feel it's our job to come in and say, I understand that you're frustrated right now, but look at what's about to happen. Look at the opportunity that can occur. Look at what good can come out of this. And we can help readjust where people are coming from and help them see another perspective. It's so easy to get stuck in our own negative perspective, and sometimes we just need someone to be able to pull us out and say, no, there's a lot of good here, and highlight that. And I think it's so important, and every one of us can play a role in that in our community. So thank you, Bruce, for also highlighting that. I want to bring us back again. Oh, sorry, Alicia.
Just as an outsider who moved here, more than a decade ago, and I look out here and I see the people that are the helpers in the community, and just as an outsider, everyone, for the most part, really was positive, helpful, friendly, kind. I knew my kids could walk to school and they'd be safe because there's helpers out there. This community is full of helpers. And I think it's important to focus on the positives too, that we really do have a good thing here. Yeah. We really do.
Thank you. So speaking of the good things we have, the thing I would like to wrap us up with is we always like to have the community highlight, we try and do about 3 items that you guys see as priority items for the next year. So I shared with you at the beginning, it was the tourism and kind of trying to, how do we focus in and start getting ready? It was housing, which we didn't hear a whole lot about tonight, but I think also the community understands we are moving forward in a lot of ways in that area. And then what was the third? Oh, childcare and workforce. It was a whole lot of things in one. So as you guys think about what you heard tonight, and Rachel, I'm going to have you, there was a lot. So just as a quick refresher, because what you guys did a really great job of is making sure we didn't delve too deep into one thing. You guys covered it all. So we talked about Food Truck Village, I like that Rachel says the doggy doos at the Allen Trail, continuous sidewalks, Youth Leadership Academy and Leadership Development, food business and culture, improved education and training for entrepreneurs, examining codes and ordinances for appropriateness for future growth, more communication about events, add some hydration stations on the trails, public restrooms downtown, marketing the dog park and other amenities for travelers, offer training policy changes about cybersecurity and scammers, a hotel, a scrolling sign on the square, wayfinding signs, improving billboards, options for gas stations, community rec center with an indoor pool because she knows what her boss loves, branding, hospitality training, so Iola, it's more like Disneyland, just hospitality training, recycling, and encouraging positive talk for the health of the community and so visitors feel welcome. It's a lot that you guys covered tonight. Out of all of those things, what do you guys feel, and I'm asking a wide group of people here, should be what do you feel is top issue items that we can start to work on to address this year?
I think you have the big umbrella of commerce and tourism.
Yep. So
we already have entities in that, but I guess making it flourishing it a little bit more. I know Jared's working on the hotel, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. I do like, so one of the things I started with Iola last year that's gotten me a little bit in trouble, because I do it with all of our other communities now as well, is we figured out a way to umbrella item a lot of your things last year. So I'm comfortable if the group is kind of doing tourism, economic development in the sense that we could put things like I just lost everything. A hotel, a rec center, like all of that stuff, no pressure, Jared. All of that stuff could go under that if you guys are comfortable with that. Also with the hospitality, that it's just a lot. That's a big umbrella item, but Bruce.
Is this kind of all in the thought of preparing for the state parks opening?
I think it's more than that, but I think that's a focus of it. But I think part of it also hits on where Josiah was, which is we already do bring in travelers. We are on 2 highways. And so how are we currently working to also bring those people into the community instead of just being a drive-through?
Maybe use the umbrella term, improving community communications.
Well, I know that's where Terry was. Improving community communications. Oh, so both to hit on the collaboration between businesses and governmental entities and also on what's going on in the community. I feel like we're going to find a way to encapsulate everything you guys talked about. Do me a favor, Rachel, put on there the things that we've already just discussed as their umbrella items. We just need to start writing them down, and then we can take them off if we need to. Myra?
Researchers came out with their AI model, so I kind of accidentally in the search bar, I was looking for something in Iola, and then AI popped up, but when it popped up, there were these Facebook pages of like what's happening in Iola, but they haven't been used in 2 years. Who was running those? Can we create a new one? I'm totally down. I just want to make sure, like, hey, Myra, if you have an ankle that gets broken from running over gravel in your drive-through area, can somebody take over that for a week? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know who would have been in charge of those pages. I guess I would ask you to send them to us and we would see if we knew. But I do agree that what we need is one channel basically of where that information.
That's where everybody likes, that's where everybody gets their like, hey, this is the movie in the square thing. I can start it, and it's just faster if I start it and share it with you all, and make people administrators as well.
Yeah.
You know, not like everybody, just, you know, like Pride could be an administrator, what's going on in Pride. Maybe we have like the sheriff, what's
The chamber.
then the chamber, things like that, where we're all administrators on one page sharing things.
That could work. We do have Allen County Together, which holds a lot of that, but that is Allen County, not Iola specific. So we've got community, community communications? Yep, community communications, tourism, readiness, but they also talked about economic infrastructure, I think. Was that it? I don't remember what it was, guys.
I still don't quite understand the state park. You mentioned it again, those 2 have. Is that lumped with everything?
If we're talking tourism, I think it gets lumped in there. I think you're still good. Who else wants to comment on this? And if there's other stuff up here that we're missing or that we need to highlight.
I think infrastructure is kind of an umbrella one too, because that's like the sidewalks, the restrooms, things like that.
You're giving us more work. She does. Okay, so infrastructure, Rachel. I'd put that in infrastructure. I put that in infrastructure, actually. Yeah, I would.
Is it wrong if it's in 2 categories?
Nope.
That just means it's
Means it's really
really
important.
Okay.
Yep. So here's what I say. Oh, Kim, sorry. Didn't mean to call you out there. Thought I saw your hand go up. So I almost want to stop us here because I think you guys found a way to fit everything under 3 things, which is a little scary. So what we've got is, I appreciate your umbrellas, Rachel. Tourism readiness, which would include the state park, but also includes, it could be the signage that we talked about as well, the wayfinding, all kinds of things. What Josiah brought up with dog parks and just how do we recruit people in period. Community communications also includes wayfinding signs and all of this, but it also includes Terry needing to know what the heck's going on in the community and how do we share that, and kind of what Myra was just bringing up as well. But then also what Nick was saying with the communication and collaboration between governmental entities and businesses, et cetera. And then infrastructure, which is everything from sidewalks and bathrooms to rec centers and hotels. So way to go, Iola. You fit everything on our list. Here's what I want to say about this. That's huge. Everything we talked about is huge. None of those is something you just come in and you tick it off of a box. So what I always share, and anyone who's been to these conversations knows, Thrive does whatever we can to move the needle forward, to make progress with you, alongside you to make these things happen. And we've got a great team, and they will work really hard to move these things forward. I can never promise you the result will be a success. I can promise you that we will try. I think most of you understand too that we're predominantly grant funded. You met a couple of our grant writers tonight. We have a larger grant writing team than we have before. That's really wonderful because that's how we bring money into this community. Is we have really wonderful people who know how to write well, who know how to find what grant opportunities are out there, and we base that off of what you share with us. So hearing what you guys are saying tonight allows Jess and Rachel and Karen to look at certain kinds of opportunities when the grant opportunities come in and say, okay, this is what was brought up, so now we need to go meet with the city, or now we need to meet with the college, or now we need to meet with any other number of entities to say, can we partner with you to bring this in so we can create this thing that you guys brought up at the community conversation. Some of this too is really, I want to bring this up too. Just because we talk about it tonight and Thrive is holding the conversation, it doesn't mean that Thrive is the end all be all, and it doesn't mean that Thrive is the one who knows how to like move something forward. We are a convener. We love to bring people together, and we love to partner, and we can't move something forward without all of our partnerships, and so that's such a huge part in this. And so if you're one of our partners, which is everybody in this room, and you see something that really excites you up there and you want to be a part of moving that forward, please share that with us because we need you. We desperately need you. We can't do it on our own. We only are as good as our community members who are also willing to be a part of the process. So I share all of that because we will work really hard on your lists. And I also want to say I'm super proud to be an Iolan. I love this community. I too moved back here and chose to be here and was so excited when a position opened at Thrive in 2014. It changed my life in all the best ways possible. And I won't go into it because then I get a little bit emotional about it in front of you. But I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you and choosing to show up and being here tonight to be a part of how do we move things forward in our community and how do we listen and engage with our community members. This was a wonderful representation. I'm so grateful for all of you for being here. If you need to talk with us about anything, the team's going to hang around. I think VA is going to hang around a little bit. And so please feel free to mingle. We still have a lot of food on the food trays, so please go that way as well. I think maybe we figured out the lights, so maybe they won't kick us out right away. But thank you guys so much for showing up. We appreciate you so very much. So thank you guys.
Thank you.